Are we
Oh
recording?
no, not the potato chips.
No, stop.
Are we recording it?
Are we recording?
Are we?
He
Have we
is.
been talking
He's
about-
recording. He always does this.
Have we been talking about chips and
Love.
Pop Rocks for the last 5 minutes of this podcast?
Yeah.
Well, let's keep it going.
I didn't even do my claps yet.
Garrett doesn't need to do his claps.
So no one told you life was gonna be this way.
But you know what, Garrett? You don't have to do that. You know why?
Why?
Because you're live here in the room
Wait,
with us.
I've got a funny thing for you. Can you catch my phone?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Right at the microphone. The microphone is so small, but somehow you still managed to hit it.
There's a reason she's not a quarterback.
Baby banana.
Dun,
Hi,
dun.
I'm eating French right now.
God,
Did it just spike?
I can't even edit this one.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oops.
Why can't you edit this?
Because Jeff's computer went,
Oh, so we gotta do this in one shot?
yeah.
Yeah, have fun.
All right, let's start over.
Let's pretend this is an Edgar Wright movie. I don't need that hand.
Probably need that phone.
No. Actually, yes.
Let's start over. Ready to record.
God, if we were in that movie, The Quiet Place, we'd be so dead by now.
Nuh-uh.
Get your grubby hands out of that bag of runs.
Hey, everyone, go see A Quiet Place. It was amazing.
It was pretty good. Hey, welcome to our show, Tutor I Hardly Know Her.
We don't really talk about the Tudors anymore. Now it's just about chips and runts and other movies.
I'm pissing off Jeff.
Yep.
And broken computers. Well, hopefully it'll be fixed next week.
Hi,
Garrett's here.
Garrett.
I'm in Tutor headquarters, which I guess would be in England, but our Tutor headquarters.
Hindquarters.
Yeah.
The hindquarters.
Tutor hindquarters.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm actually in the studio with Jeff and Emily today, and it's great.
The studio is our family room.
You don't have to tell people that. Theater of the mind, Emily. Make them think that we have like a cool studio, like we're like Joe Rogan or Howard Stern or something.
As we're literally
Joe
sitting on
Rogan?
couches and lazy boys.
And cats are just, they have free reign.
There's a lot of cats.
Year is 2018. The world of podcasting has been taken over by cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
Yeah.
Hi.
I'm Garrett. That's Emily.
I'm Jeff.
That's Jeff. I'm looking at them as I'm calling them out, and this would work if it was a video podcast, but it's not. So, what are we
I'm
talking?
Emily,
You're Emily.
the only female present.
So, what are we talking about today, Emily?
Let's chat about the King's Great Matter.
Okay. So I remember you text me about this previously in the week.
Did I?
Yeah, and it misspelled the Kong's Great Matter.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a way better subject I want to talk
That's
about.
what I said.
I mean, okay,
We're
so
talking about King Kong instead.
Jack Black.
Oh, we're going with that one.
Yes.
Not the current Skull Island one.
No.
Not the old
No, no,
school
no, no,
one.
no.
We're
No,
going
no, no.
Not even
Wait,
Donkey
wait.
Kong.
I'm not done. Jack Black and Loki get together,
And then Jeff Bridges shows up.
and Jeff Bridges shows up.
Was Jeff Bridges in a King Kong movie?
Yeah, he was in the one in like I think like 80s with Jessica Lange.
Is there
And
a
it,
rule?
and it happens in LA instead of New York.
Ugh.
Yeah. He gets,
What does he even crawl in L.A.?
I don't know.
Like, what iconic building
He
is
falls
in
off
LA?
a 5-story building.
The Hollywood sign.
Because like they have helicopters that attack him instead. And it's like, it's trying to be modern. And it was really bad.
Ugh, that sounds terrible. But you know what's not terrible? The King's Great Matter.
Gray matter?
Gray matter. He was exuding this really gross gray stuff.
Have you tried it? It's delicious. If you don't believe me, ask the dishes.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
No, great matter. Basically, Henry wanted a divorce.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
I thought you were just talking about his package again.
Not that great.
It's
It's not that great. Anne Boleyn said so.
Did she really?
Yeah, she told her sister Jane that... Her sister-in-law Jane that he was not that good in bed, but it's fine because it didn't last very long anyway.
I thought you were saying that he just didn't have a big penis.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Oh. I mean, you can have a small penis and be good in bed.
You just got
Right,
to
Jeff? High five. We didn't actually high five. We
I
had to
hate
clap.
you both. Yeah, that would also explain why his cod pieces kept getting bigger and bigger as the years went on.
God, that is such a fucking Trump thing to do.
I know. By the way, thank you to all of our fans or our listeners who instantly tweeted me things about Henry VIII and Trump, because that was a fucking delight. What was one of them?
I swear
either
I'm
way,
gonna
I
buy
love
the
you
rights to
guys.
that song. We're gonna play it every episode.
Oh, somebody said if Henry VIII is Trump, then Margaret Pole is Hillary in my head. And is the Low Countries code for Mar-a-Lago?
that was one I liked.
That one was a
the most.
delight.
That was amazing.
So we love you guys. You're so fucking funny. No, today we're gonna chat about how Henry VIII got his divorce, which he kind of didn't, but he made it happen.
He tried to
He
make
tried.
it happen.
He tried, and it wasn't really a divorce; it was an annulment. And in case you don't remember me saying this a million times before, a divorce means that you're saying a marriage is no longer existing. An annulment says a marriage never happened in the first place. So divorce is bad. Annulments are possible in Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
In the Catholic religion.
Annulment is the way sneakier way of getting out of a
you
marriage.
could still get an annulment.
What?
Yeah, I could go and get an annulment if I wanted.
Annulments still exist today.
Or we remember we did this. We had to talk about this. So Jeff and I got married in the Catholic Church, and before our wedding, we had to go through this like marriage counseling thing, which was mostly beneficial. Hold on. It was mostly beneficial because it was things like how to communicate with your partner and make sure you're talking about these things before you guys actually get married and yada yada. And for some reason, they talked about an annulment and what was allowable, and it was stuff like if Jeff lied to me about like who he was, if one of us didn't want kids and the other did, that's a reason to get an annulment. Things like that. Cheating, abuse, things like that. Those are all reasons for an annulment today. It just takes a long time. Much like Henry VIII's time.
Go on.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about
And
this
Henry's annulment was
with Catherine of Aragon.
his reasoning was that she was technically his sister.
Yeah, exactly. So I was going to give a
I
little...
remembered that.
Okay, Garrett, what background can you give us on this case? What do you remember?
Henry was like, I've been with Catherine for a while. I'm ready for a new piece. So, so he's like, hey, baby, Anne Boleyn, I love you. Be my boo. And she's like, boy, you still married to that Catherine of Aragon. And he's like, well, I'm going to get this shit annulled. Watch. He's like, hey, she was married to my brother beforehand, so technically she's my sister, and that's kind of icky. And they're like, dude, you've been married to her for like 20 years. You could have figured this shit out before. And he's like, bro, come on. I'm gonna make my own church, and I'm going to make it cool. And they're like, fine, bet, do it. He's like, whatever. See ya, nerds.
Well, that was it. This is
That was
divorce
it.
we had to die, divorce we had
End
to
of the podcast.
survive.
Was I right?
You basically just summarized. You spark noted my entire episode.
God, man, I'm so
Good
good
job.
at that. Thank you.
Do you want details?
Yes.
Okay, so the
Because
background.
everyone loves to learn about a messy divorce.
Yes, they do.
Because they always go great.
Wonderful. Okay, so Catherine of Aragon arrived in England to marry Arthur in 1501, and in early 1502, Arthur died, so they weren't even married for a year when he died. Catherine claimed they never had sex, and Henry VII was like, well, then maybe she could marry Henry. We'll get a papal dispensation, make sure everything's okay. Things dragged on. Long story short, they didn't get married until Henry VII died, and Henry VIII became king. And then he was like, I'm going to get me a bull, a papal bull, and I'm going to a papal bull. It was a declaration, a papal declaration allowing something. It was a dispensation. So they needed it because of
Oh, bull.
BULL.
I thought you were saying papal bowl.
There was a special dish that the Pope had to send to your marriage or to your wedding ceremony. And if it was blessed, and that would say the marriage was cool. And if you didn't get that papal bull, you were in a lot of trouble.
It sounds like you're trying to say paper bowl
Papal.
or capable.
Papal.
He's very papable.
So the thing is, the Bible. Who'd have thunk the Bible is contradictory, guys? I can't
Wait.
get over it. So in the
I've
book,
heard that book.
I think I've heard of it before.
I saw it in a hotel once.
The Haunted Hotel. So there are two books. So the Bible is one book made up of other books compiled into one. It's like if the Lord of the Rings books were put into one book.
The
Think of it like
compendium
that.
of Jesus.
It was the Jesus compendium.
It's
So
the Cyrillian of
the
Bible.
Silmarillion. So there are there are two books that were important for Henry VIII's papal bull. One was Leviticus, and in it there is a chapter that and a verse that says, "If a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing, and they shall be childless." But Deuteronomy, I'm always proud of myself that I can say that. Deuteronomy says
Sounds like what a bro would call himself back in the day. Deuteronomy. Sub Deuteronomy.
What's up, Deuterino? Deuteronomy says, if brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go on in unto her, and take her to him as wife, and perform the duty of the husband's brother unto her. So basically, if the brother dies, then the leftover brother, the spare, has to marry the widow to take care of her.
Yeah.
So two conflicting passages in the Bible.
Hey, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Bible's got a lot of weird shit in it.
It's a little strange.
You know that one passage about where if a man's seed spills on his sheets, he's got to throw those sheets out?
I didn't know
Or
that.
it's something like that.
Do you think when Henry VIII had his wet dream, he burned the sheets or whatever because the Bible said so?
I don't think he followed the Bible that closely, Emily.
He was.
I'm gonna make my own church with my own Bible.
He was.
He followed enough to find all the fucking loopholes.
He was a very big student of Catholicism, and that's why he was named Fide Defensor, the defender of the faith.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Did you know that? I think I said this before, but the current Queen of England still uses the title Defender of the Faith.
No.
It's like one of my favorite fucking facts.
Sounds like she should own like a really cool holy sword.
The Pope. Well, the Pope. So Henry VIII wrote a pamphlet chastising Martin Luther and his shit with Rome. And the Pope was like, God, you're such a good son of the church. I'm going to give you an official title. You are now the defender of the faith. And that's been passed down since him. And I'm like, I don't think that's what the Pope meant. And I'm sure he's not happy you were using it when you left the church. But either way.
Can I get that back?
No.
It's mine now.
Nope. No takes backsies.
And also, I'm the defender of my faith now.
Yeah. This is the title I gave unto myself. So.
Best I ever got was a plaque that said, Garrett Kaiser for excellence in religion in the 8th grade.
I got saved by Jesus, Garrett.
What?
That's the best I got. I'm going to heaven.
I got a picture with the Easter Bunny.
Come on, Jeff. You're the one who's supposed to keep us on track.
I tried to be that guy and then I gave up.
Yeah, no, we're not good at that. So anyway, the papal bull was sent to England, and it was it's the same thing as the dispensation. It's the one that allowed Henry and Catherine to marry, even though Catherine was technically his sister-in-law. But the bull was like, nope, this is totes cool. We're all fine. And so they got married in 1509. So 20 years later, several pregnancies, 4 children who died in infancy, and only Mary lived. And she was born in 1516.
Oh my God, that passage about no child shall be born unto thee.
Right? So here's the thing, though. There's a lot of discussion about when Henry VIII first actually started considering divorce, because in 1520, there were rumors floating around court that he was going to ask for a divorce. And that was before Anne Boleyn was on the scene. And again, so then in 1524 or 1525, Catherine's physicians told Henry that Catherine would not likely have another child. I just made my glasses worse. That he would likely not have another child. So then he met Anne Boleyn a year or so later, so around 1526. And then in 1527, he started actually moving to annul the marriage. I think I read something, one of my many, many, many books, that said that he was considering divorce in the 15 teens. So we don't really know when he started trying to get the divorce and what his exact reason was. In 1527, he started trying to actually annul the marriage. So Henry VIII's argument was twofold. First, he said that the Pope couldn't actually give permission for him to marry Catherine of Aragon because the Bible said explicitly, don't marry your brother's wife, you'll be childless. But the papal bull said perhaps they had sex. Perhaps Catherine of Aragon and Arthur had sex. So the Pope was trying to cover his ass just in case Catherine of Aragon was lying. But Henry VIII was like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Didn't they do that thing where they would, like watch people in their chambers?
No, they didn't do that in England.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
But wouldn't somebody have seen the sheets?
we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Shit.
Yeah. So
I'm excited.
in 1527, the same year he started,
It's a weird thing to be excited about. I'm sorry.
I'm so excited to talk about those sheets. In 1527, Emperor Charles V, who was Catherine of Aragon's nephew, sacked Rome and took the Pope as prisoner. That always baffled me because he was always like, I am the most Catholic of the kings, and the Pope is my prisoner. Totally cool. So Henry was like, fuck, we're in trouble, except this might be beneficial because if the Pope is a prisoner and can't make a decision, the bishops in England can represent the Pope, and Cardinal Wolsey can hold a trial. So we've talked about Cardinal Wolsey before. He was Henry's main man, and a cardinal was basically a prince of the church. So he was powerful. And that same year, Henry told Catherine, he was like, BT dubs, I want a divorce. You could try and live in a nunnery because you're super religious. And I know you like God and all that.
You love that, right, babe?
And Catherine was like, not so much. I'm not called to be a nun. I was called to be the Queen of England. So fuck you. I'm going to fight this. So it was a contested divorce. So Wolsey told Henry, like, this is still no problem. The Pope made me the legatus a legare, which is basically the most powerful religious figure in England. So, like, I can push this through pretty quick. We're set. Meanwhile, Henry was, like, trying to convince everybody else that the divorce was a really good idea. So he gave a great speech to the nobles of the country about his guilt and how he truly loved Catherine and he would absolutely choose to marry her again if he could. And if the Pope said that their marriage was valid, he'd be so happy. But he knows in his heart that they have broken divine law and that they're committing adultery. So all the nobles were like, bravo, bravo.
This sounds like one of those like celebrity apologies.
It was a total celebrity apology.
This is like if Justin Bieber was like apologizing for, I don't know, pissing in a bucket or something. Something he actually did.
Ew.
Yeah, like he was in some studio and he like pissed in a bucket. And
Oh, gross.
yeah, it's like if Justin Bieber was like, I'm very sorry for all the things I did, you guys.
Yeah.
You know?
But Henry wasn't sorry. He was like, I'm right, you're wrong.
Okay, so now Henry VIII is Kanye West,
Henry VIII is Kanye.
Donald Trump, and Justin Bieber.
That's just a horrible combination of everything.
Did Henry VIII ride his royal guards along the Great Wall of China?
Yes. Yes, he did.
I want to explore the Great Wall. Let's go, boys.
Why does he sound like Michael Jackson?
He's also Michael Jackson now.
So all the nobles were like, good speech. You're totally right. And you're clearly doing this because you are very, very, very guilty and you just want to do what's right by your brother and by divine law. We totally are on board. So it really came down to, what did Leviticus mean when he said, you shall not marry your brother's wife? The Pope's
What does that really mean?
Yeah.
The Pope's argument is, if the brother's alive, don't go stealing his wife. Henry's argument was like, it doesn't matter if he's alive. It was still my brother's wife. So I'm committing adultery.
I love reading my rules as not literal.
You know. Although I kind of agree with the Pope. Like when I read Leviticus, I was like, I mean,
In that context, it does make.
I feel like
Makes
it
some
means don't steal. It's like one of the 10 Commandments. Don't covet thy neighbor's wife.
I want someone to go through the Bible and write it in like legal terms.
Oh, that'd be great.
No. It
Yes.
just makes the Bible more boring.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. So Henry was working with all the scholars and theologians to get them on his side. He was like, well, while the religious fuckers are debating this, I'm going to make sure every lawyer, everybody who's educated, hears my argument and agrees with me. So they all wrote essays supporting him. And the scholars in Rome were like, well, okay. And so they wrote their own essays supporting the Pope. So it was really just like, it sounds like a debate between Harvard and Yale. Like, it's boring as fuck, and everybody has their own arguments. So in 1528, Henry sent an appeal to the Pope. He's like, could you pretty please, with a cherry on top, give me an annulment because of these reasons? And also, just in case I ever wanted to marry someone, and I happen to have slept with that someone's sister, in vague terms, just in case, I'm not saying this is true, but can I have a papal bull to allow that?
I'm asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
Named
I'm not going to
Blenry
say
the Blade.
I'm not going to say it's my friend Thomas Schmore. It's not me though. I can confirm. So basically he was asking the Pope to give a dispensation for the exact thing that Henry was saying the Pope couldn't give a dispensation for. Because having carnal knowledge of someone, having sex with someone, gives you a connection to them as strong as marriage. So that's why a marriage could be, like, sex was more important than the marriage in some cases. So that's why if Catherine had sex with Arthur, they were married. But if Catherine hadn't had sex with Arthur, then they weren't married. So he was like, you totally can't do that. But could you do that for this case? Just in case. Not saying it's going to happen, but just in case. And in 1529, the Pope had been free of Emperor Charles, but he was still kind of under his control. So he still couldn't really do much. So he sent his buddy Cardinal Campeggio to England to find alternate solutions. He assembled a court, and that court was going through the summer of 1529. And that's where Catherine of Aragon showed up on the first day, and she hung out for that one day. Henry stood up, gave a speech, was like, I would totally marry Catherine again if I could. This is just about my conscience and how I know that we broke canon law. This is not acceptable.
Baby, you know I love you, right?
It's black and white.
She just
So
rolls her eyes.
Catherine, instead of getting up and giving her own speech, she knelt in front of the king, which is a huge deal. And she gave this following speech. Sir, I beseech you for all the love that hath been between us, and for the love of God, let me have justice. Take of me some pity and compassion, for I am a poor woman and a stranger born out of your dominion. I have no assured friends here, and much less impartial counsel. Alas, sir, wherein have I offended you, or what occasion of displeasure have I deserved? I have been to you a true, humble, and obedient wife, ever comfortable of your will and pleasure, that never said or did anything to the contrary thereof, being always well pleased and contented with all things wherein you had any delight or dalliance, whether it were in little or much. I never grudged in word or countenance, or showed a visage or spark of discontent. I loved all of those whom ye loved, only for your sake, whether I had cause to or no, and whether they were my friends or my enemies. This 20 years or more I have been your true wife, and by me ye have had diverse children, although it hath pleased God to call them out of this world, which hath been no default in me. When ye had me at first, I take God to my judge, I was a true maid, without touch of man. And whether it be true or no, I put it to your conscience. If there be any just cause by the law that ye can allege against me, whether of dishonesty or any other impediment to banish and put me from you, I am well content to depart to my great shame and dishonor. And if there be none, then here I most lowly beseech you, let me remain in my former estate. Therefore I most humbly require you, in the way of charity and for the love of God, who is the just judge, to spare me the extremity of this new court, until I may be advised what way and order my friends in Spain will advise me to take. And if ye will not extend to me so much impartial favor, your pleasure then be fulfilled, and to God I commit my cause. Whew, I need a drink.
So TLDR,
TLDR, when I married you, I hadn't had sex with your brother, so we were not legally married. I gave you the children that you wanted. God called them to him before they could grow up, which is true. She had 4 infants that were born, and they died very quickly, plus Mary. So I've loved you. I've supported you. I've loved people who you loved, even though they're my enemies. I have been by your side. I've been an obedient wife. I've been a good queen. The fuck are you doing? So that caused quite a stir. And then Catherine left court and refused to come back for any other hearing. She was like, I'm not going to get an impartial hearing, so I'm out. So eventually Campeggio was like, well, I can't really make a decision. And Henry was pissed. And then Catherine in November confronted Henry. And she was pissed at him. And she was like, could you please tell me why you're being such a dick? She said, no. So Chapuis saw it or heard about it, and he wrote to Charles. She said she had long been suffering the pains of purgatory on earth, and that she was very badly treated by his refusing to dine with her and visit her in her apartments. The king replied that she had no right to complain, for she was mistress in her own household, where she could do what she pleased, and explained that he had not dined with her because he'd been busy with affairs of government. Babe, I'm totally working late, I swear.
In the Low Countries.
He then went on to address her complaint about not visiting her apartments, saying she ought to know that he was not her legitimate husband, as innumerable doctors and canonists, all men of honor and probity, and even his own almoner, Dr. Lee, who had once known her in Spain, were ready to maintain, and that should not the Pope, in conformity with the above opinions so expressed, declare their marriage null and void, then in that case he would denounce the Pope as a heretic and marry whom he pleased. So he's like, you know what? I'm fucking done. Even if the Pope says I'm married to you, then the Pope's a goddamn heretic. I make my own law. The Queen replied to that he himself, without the help of doctors, knew perfectly well that the principal cause alleged for the divorce did not really exist. Some French.
French happens.
French happens. As to your almoner's opinion in this matter, she continued, I care not a straw. He is not my judge in the present case. It is for the Pope, not for him to decide. Respecting those of other doctors, whether Parisian or from other universities, you knew very well that the principal and best lawyers in England have written in my favor. Indeed, if you give me permission to procure counsel's opinion in this matter, I do not hesitate to say that for each doctor or lawyer who might decide in your favor and against me, I shall find 1,000 to declare that the marriage is good and insoluble. So she's fucking badass. Then Henry was like, hey, Anne, I got into a little fight with Catherine. And Anne was pissed. And she goes, did I not tell you that whenever you disputed with the Queen, she was sure to have the upper hand? I see that some fine morning you will succumb to her reasoning and that you will cast me off. I have been waiting long and might in the meanwhile have contracted some advantageous marriage out of which I might have had issue, which is my greatest consolation in this world. But alas, farewell to my time and youth spent to no purpose at all. So she was like, I told you not to fight with the Queen. Eventually you're going to go back to her. I could have had a marriage and children by now, and that's all I wanted. And now you're going to cast me aside. So thanks for fucking nothing. So things were not going well in the camp of Henry. And so Henry was like, I'm tired of nothing happening. He removed Wolsey as chancellor. Wolsey asked first Anne Boleyn for help, and she's like, nah. And then Wolsey was like, hey, Catherine, I know we weren't the best of buds. No, we had our issues. Could you help? Henry found out about that, had him charged with treason, and then he died on his way to be tried. So Thomas More was put in charge as chancellor, and Thomas Cranmer was eventually made archbishop, and he was also relied on. Cranmer said that, Henry, what are you doing? You really should just ignore the Pope. Just listen to your scholars. They're the smart ones. And Henry was sick of the Pope, so he took it into his own hands. In January 1531, the Pope saw that Henry was getting a little antsy, and he issued a declaration saying that Henry was not allowed to marry anybody else while he was still making a decision. And he also said no secular or religious authorities in England are allowed to get involved in the matter. So back the fuck off. I'm the one making the decision. Whew. Lots going on.
That's a lot.
It is. So by this time, Henry had pulled together a bunch of resources that said that basically the monarch had supremacy, not the Pope. The Pope shouldn't be able to say what he can do. So in 1531, he pulled together a clerical court, and they declared that Henry was the supreme head of the Church of England. In July of that year, he cut Catherine off from Mary, and he sent her to, I wrote it down. Ludlow. She went to Ludlow. Meanwhile, even though he was like, I make the decisions, he was still trying to get the Pope to agree with him. I think that was like an ego thing. Like, I need somebody to confirm that I'm right. So in 1532, all church authority was given to the king, and also legislative independence and canon law was given to Henry. And in 1533, another act was passed that removed the right of English clergy and laity to appeal to Rome on matters of matrimony, tithes, and oblations. So basically that said Cranmer was allowed to make any religious decision he wanted as it affected Henry. So the end of 1532, Henry had gone to France with Anne. Francis was like, yeah, totally good idea. Totes marry her. So they possibly had a secret wedding ceremony there. Anne got pregnant. And then in early 1533, in January, they had a second ceremony. So they were married. On April 11th of 33, Henry told his council they had to recognize Anne as queen. On May 23rd, Cranmer was like, Henry and Catherine were never really married. It's null and void. I'm allowed to make that decision now. 5 days later, he said, oh, by the way, his marriage to Anne Boleyn is totally valid. So Anne was crowned in June, and in September she gave birth to her daughter Elizabeth. And then the Pope finally made a decision. It was 1534. This was started in 1527. On March 23rd, the Pope finally declared that the marriage of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon was valid. Henry VIII was still like, I don't give a fuck.
He's like, were you not paying attention the past few years?
Yeah,
Did you not see what happened?
I'm done with you.
Yeah.
We out.
Bro, come on.
Deuteronomy. Get out.
Wait, I've made my decision.
And I need another drink. I'm talking a lot. So on nope, I already said that. The Act of Supremacy was passed, and that said the king is the supreme head of the church, and the Act of Succession was passed saying, my children with Anne Boleyn are the first in line. Thomas More, his chancellor, didn't take the oath. He didn't agree with it, and so he was imprisoned and executed. Bishop Fisher was one of the few bishops in England who supported Catherine, and he was also imprisoned. While he was imprisoned, the Pope was like, I'm going to make sure he doesn't get executed by making him a cardinal. Henry VIII did the shrug emoji and had him executed anyway.
This guy don't really follow you guys.
Yeah. So that kind of covers the whole process of his divorce.
Yeah.
But there's this question that has come up for centuries, and it's, did Catherine of Aragon lie and actually have sex with Arthur?
Oh shit.
And it's so a lot of people are torn. I'm torn because I know. What do you think as a noob?
Maybe she gave him a handy or something. Or... Do they count those?
No, they had to have sex. Handies weren't allowed. They're still not allowed.
What about a beej?
Beaches are totally not allowed.
Anal?
Absolutely not. That's sodomy. Come on, Garrett.
I mean,
Missionary, penis and vagina only.
that's the most boring way to go.
Sorry. I mean, it's at least.
I hope you're not listening to this with your kids. Mommy,
what's a beach?
Well,
It's a nickname, honey.
mommy wants to get daddy to shut up.
And daddy won't stop playing his video games.
How long was Catherine and Arthur married?
Less than a year. I think like 5 or 6 months.
They had to have done it.
That's kind of what I think. Like,
I mean,
so a lot of people point to Arthur was a sickly child, and so he couldn't have had sex.
mm-hmm.
But, and that's what I meant to talk about, the sheets. In the trial, where after Catherine gave her speech, they pulled some people who'd been present at the wedding, and afterwards who'd been with Arthur, they'd been his companions. And one of them said that the morning after the marriage, the morning after he would have consummated his marriage, Arthur came out and said to his buddy, I think it was Weatherby, Weatherby, get me some ale, for tonight I've been in the midst of Spain. And then later on, I think there was a request to see the bloodstained sheets. I'm not sure if they were ever shown. But it's just, so here's the thing. A lot of people are like, well, Arthur was sickly. He wasn't. He was sick. He died of the sweating sickness, but the sweating sickness can take anyone, sickly or not. I don't know where the idea came from that he was sickly, but some other books, I really need to just start writing down the books I've been reading. They were saying he wasn't actually sickly. He was a normal, healthy 15-year-old.
Maybe sickly meant something different. Who knows? Maybe he was just like super scrawny. He
had a
looked like me.
He had a wimpy dick.
Very pale, very scrawny, wimpy dick. Just like me.
Wimpy Dick Garrett.
It's not true.
Just as I called him in high school.
That's my joke, and you can't use that.
So was he sick? If he was sick, if he was a very ill child, then yes, I can see why they wouldn't have had sex. But
I mean, come on, it was their wedding night.
yeah,
And even beyond that, like they were married for a year.
less than. It was
than a
only
year.
like 5 months. But Catherine had reason to lie. So here's the thing. A lot of people are like, Catherine's too pious to lie. She's pious as fuck. Like, we can all agree. But
When your life is on the line.
here's the thing. So Philippa Gregory, she wrote a book called Constant Princess, and her argument was that she and Arthur had sex, and she just didn't get pregnant. And so she believed her calling was to be the Queen of England. She believed that was what God called her to do. And that's, she said that. She believed she was not called to be a nun. She was called to be Queen of England. So to reach that calling, it's okay to lie and say she didn't have sex with Arthur. So that's what Philippa Gregory's guess is. That kind of sticks with me a lot. And there's so many times where like I'm hearing about what Henry VIII tried really hard to appease her, and it was really for his own good because he didn't want to get involved with shit with the emperor, and he really just wanted to marry Anne so he could have a legitimate heir. He was not the first king to ask for an annulment so that he could have an heir. It had been done before multiple times, so it was nothing new. This just happened to be some weird circumstances. But so Catherine of Aragon was like, no, I refuse to give up my queenship, and she kept arguing that the throne had to go to her daughter Mary. That was his heir. He had no choice about it. So when Henry said that, when the proposal was suggested that Catherine go to a nunnery, Mary still would have been in line for the throne. She wouldn't have been declared a bastard. But Catherine of Aragon was like, nope, not good enough. So part of me gets really frustrated when I read about things like that, because I'm like, Jesus Christ, Catherine. Like, you can't claim you're doing this all for your daughter and then blow that off. I don't know. I'm torn about it. I had one of our listeners ask about that earlier this week on Twitter, and I'm just very torn. Sometimes I think Catherine and Arthur did have sex because there was no reason for them not to. It was important for the dynasty. Like, they grew up knowing, like, you have to have sex and produce. Catherine knew you have to have sex and produce an heir. Arthur knew you have to have sex and produce an heir.
I mean,
Like,
and if she's that, dedicated to her cause of being queen and, doing her duties of giving the king an heir, of course they would have fucked.
So, why would they not have sex? That's it. There's just not really a reason for them not to have.
She was just not in the mood that night.
I have a headache, honey.
I'm really tired.
I'm really sleepy. Not tonight. So
Maybe she tricked him. She was like, oh, yeah, this is totally how sex works. And he's like, oh, cool. Guys, I've been in the midst of Spain. And she gave him a handy. That's how the first handy was given.
and that's when the hand job was invented.
Maybe Arthur didn't like women.
There's no academic. We don't need to start another George Boleyn was gay rumor. There's no academic support to suggest that He was not into women. I mean, I know 15 years old is still young to have sex, especially if you're
Yeah,
a
but
shy
no.
kid.
I mean, if you're a boy, you're.
What if they were just making out and he's like, guys, I did it. I had sex.
I like your Arthur.
You sound like the Candy King from Wreck-It Ralph.
Never seen it.
I want
Good
some
movie.
candy.
Is it supposed to be Edwin?
They were married for 4 months, not 5. She swore on the sacrament to a papal legate that they never had sex. So that's why people believe her. But again, if she believed God called her to be queen,
I mean, ever
Then
since we
it's-
started doing this show, like I've only had in my mind that like Catherine is like 100% lawful good, like she is totally pious and would never lie, and she's great.
she is lawful
But
good.
Maybe she's
But
she's
maybe-
chaotic good.
Maybe she's like
Maybe she's chaotic good.
Mary Tudor's chaotic good. Maybe she and Mary are like chaotic
We got to
good.
make an alignment chart for the Tudors.
Oh fuck. Okay, wait. So there's lawful good, Thomas More. No other way about it.
Neutral good.
I always get confused about neutral good.
Neutral good is like you're just a good you're just good, and
You don't do anything. Really?
Charles Brandon.
Yeah.
chaotic good.
Chaotic
You'll do anything
good.
it takes
Mary
to.
Tudor.
Okay.
And then what's next?
Lawful neutral.
You're gonna have to go through the lawful neutrals. I don't know enough.
I don't know these people well enough.
Fuck. We're gonna work on this.
Okay, true neutral. Just complete neutrality.
Throughout all of the Tudors, or just through Henry VIII? We're gonna have to do all the Tudors.
Yeah, we'll figure this out.
True neutral.
But I wanna
Guys,
go-
if you have if you have if you have an alignment chart idea, send it to us.
What
Let's
about-
go to the evils
What
though.
about lawful evil? They do things evil, but they do it by the books, and they just
Wolsey?
I was thinking either Wolsey. Cromwell's more like.
I was gonna say, where does Cromwell
Cromwell
fit
is
in?
evil. He's chaotic evil.
Okay.
And then neutral evil.
Henry.
Henry. I really think Henry's neutral evil. And then
Because
yeah.
him is more like. It's just so all. It's more like an ego with him.
It's
And
all about his ego.
Yeah, it's not. It's like.
Yeah.
It's nothing like lawful or chaotic, but it's just. he
Even
just
the
loves
things
himself.
he wanted to succeed in, like he was like Henry V is remembered for Agincourt. Like he did it for like all those things he went and attacked people. Like he wanted to be remembered. Good job, Henry. You accomplished it.
Okay, yeah. So, write us in. Tell us who you think fits on the alignment chart. If you don't know what the hell we're talking about, it's
Google
a D&D
it.
thing.
Yeah.
And
it's
Google
fun.
it. Alignment charts are great.
It's fun.
You ever seen the It's Always Sunny one where everyone is just chaotic evil?
That's accurate. So I think that's it.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I think somebody asked me a question early. No questions this week.
I'm so sorry I banged the mic. Oh no.
Well, you've ruined it. We've got to redo the whole podcast.
Restart.
We do all of our episodes one take.
I don't. Second take. I don't do second
Oh.
takes.
We did have a request to do another episode where we watch the Tudors and give a commentary on it. I'm happy to do so because I'm rewatching the Tudors. So if you want, let us know if anybody else is interested in that. I'll happily do it. Send us any questions that you'd like us to answer. We'll try and answer them on the podcast.
We're still trying to figure out how we're going to do our next giveaway.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
contest.
Jeff suggested that we do another trivia thing where Garrett and Jeff represent someone, but I think a lot of you said that you wanted to actually answer the trivia questions. So now I'm trying to figure out a way for you guys to get involved in the trivia.
Yeah.
And it would be Tudor, but it would also be like podcast specific. So all those inside jokes would be involved as well. So,
There was something I heard earlier. It was someone on another podcast was commenting about like people who do like their own commentary. They're joking around about how you should record it as if you're standing right next to them in a movie theater. Like you just do this really creepy like, oh yeah, you see that? That's how they did that. Like have like it's just like so you have to wear headphones so that way it sounds like they're just whispering into your ear.
fun fact, that reminded me. So the years in the Tudors, the new year didn't start until March. So Catherine Howard was executed in 1542, but according to the Tudor calendar, it was 1541.
Odd.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So
What does
that-
the Tudor calendar look like?
Shit if I know. I just read in Young and Damned and Fair that it was it started in the new year.
Started in
Or
March.
the new year started in March. Fucking Smarch.
Lousy smarch weather.
I think that's it though.
Day of the 13th month.
Of the 13th year. I think that's it, guys.
Yeah. So,
So wait,
Facebook,
Facebook, Tudor, I hardly know her, and Twitter at Tudor know her.
Instagram.
I don't have an Instagram. I mean, I have a personal Instagram, but you're all going to be bored by pictures of my cats.
LiveJournal.
Zenga.
MySpace.
Check us out. Tell your friends about us, and rate and review.
Yeah, go on iTunes
And
and give us
subscribe.
reviews. Give us those 5 stars. If you
And-
really like us that much.
And we love you.
We do love you guys. Thank you all for all the comments and the likes and the retweets and the
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Interactions.
You
Whenever I
guys-
talk to Emily and she's like, "Oh man, somebody else interacted with me about the show and it made me so happy," and it makes me happy.
It really does, guys. You're awesome. We love you. So until next time.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Divorced,
Divorced, beheaded,
died.
died.
Divorced, beheaded, survived.
Goodbye.
Only time will ever be in sync.
Bye, bye, bye.
It's gonna be May.
Soon.